Greetings everyone, I'm Borko from Plumsail. In this video, I will guide you through simple steps to display vacancies in Org Chart for SharePoint and Microsoft Teams using Plumsail Org Chart. I will show how to display vacancies in case you use data sources such as SharePoint List, Entra ID or formerly Azure AD, SharePoint User Profiles, and Excel or CSV. Plumsail Org Chart has a few different layouts you can choose from, as you can see it on the screen. And those are top to bottom compact, top to bottom classic, top to bottom with grouping of leaves, left to right, and bottom to top. And in all of these layouts, vacancies might be shown differently, and I will show it in the end of this video how everything looks like. Vacancies are enabled in Plumsail Org Chart settings, and they use a different data source than the org chart itself. So basically, org chart will use a different SharePoint list as a list server and use the data from that list as a data source for vacancies. Let's see how to set up vacancies for SharePoint list as a data source. I will assume that you already have added Plumsail Org Chart to your SharePoint and Microsoft Teams, and you have your SharePoint list with employees ready. If you haven't done that yet, so I will leave a video in the description section so you can follow step-by-step guide how to add Plumsail Org Chart to your SharePoint and Microsoft Teams and how to set up SharePoint list for this purpose. There is a link in the description section for a 30-day free trial as well, with no credit card required. Simply register your account and test out Plumsail Org Chart and see if it fits your needs. And also please don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get back to setting up vacancies. Just a quick note in here, you can add vacancies at any point as you set up the org chart for the first time, or later on you can go back and configure it. In here I will set it up as I'm adding org chart as a web part to SharePoint site. Click on plus sign to add a web part and search for Plumsail Org Chart. Click to configure, then as a data source select SharePoint list. Site URL is already selected. Now I will select the employee list. Field mapping is a very important step and it's used to build the org chart structure. So in here I used employees' emails to build a structure and I will select them as IDs. For employee ID, I will use work email. For manager ID, I will use manager email. For employee name, in here I will use employee name column from my SharePoint list. Assistant ID and dotted line manager, those fields are optional, but I used emails for them as well as IDs. Now in the advanced section, I will turn on vacancies toggle and we can see it is asking for a vacancies list server relative URL. There are a couple of ways to build this server and I will show you the easier one. Go back to the site where you want to create the vacancies list and copy the relative URL. Select /, then site, your site name, and lists just as shown on the screen. Then paste this relative server URL into the field. Add your list name and I will call mine vacancies. In this case, org chart will create a list in the selected site and add all necessary columns so you don't have to do the extra work. And this is how org chart creates the vacancy list. Now let's add some data, a couple of vacancies maybe, to see how it looks like. Note that the manager field needs to be filled with the employee ID of the corresponding manager. It is mapped according to the org chart data source configuration. And as I used manager email address as ID, I will have to use it in here as well. And our vacancies are beautifully displayed and visible within the org chart. And whenever you open the More menu, you will see a new option called Manage Vacancies. This opens the vacancies list in the new tab where you can manage your vacancies, add new or remove the existing one. Further, if we want to make those vacancy boxes more visible, we can click on Configure and go to Design tab and under Box Style and Rules, add some rules when the box type is vacancy to make it pop out. And this is very useful if you want to distinguish those vacancies which need to be filled. Now we will add vacancies to Entra ID as a data source. Vacancy list server will still be a SharePoint list, but the org chart will use Entra ID as a data source to build a structure. We will add vacancy on the similar way as we did earlier for the SharePoint list as a data source. One big difference in here is that for manager ID, when the data source is Entra ID, org chart will use user principal name or UPN. In most cases, the UPN is the user's email address, as you can see it in Entra ID on the screen. And every time we need to add a vacant position for a certain manager, we have to find that manager in Entra ID and find their user principal name or UPN, and then add that UPN to the vacancy list server under manager email column. And that way, org chart will add vacant position below that manager. Now we will add a couple of vacancies to our newly created vacancy list server, and we will use UPNs for IDs for managers. And the same box customization options apply as we have seen previously when the data source is SharePoint list, so you can check it out again. Let's see how vacancies look like for the SharePoint User Profiles as a data source. The idea is the same as before. As we select our data source to be user profiles, choose mapping fields for org chart to build a structure, choose assistant ID and dotted line managers, and enable vacancies. In here, again, we insert relative URL for vacancies list server, which will be a SharePoint list, and we will not create this list in SharePoint, rather choose to give it a name, and org chart will create the list and necessary columns in it by itself. And so I have to copy the relative SharePoint URL, add /lists and /list name. This is the name I want to use for my vacancy list, but you can use any name you like. And the org chart has created a list named vacancies in the HR Hub site and added necessary columns, as you can see. Let's add some vacancies now. I will add a couple of vacancies, and I want to emphasize the manager email field. In this case, when the data source is user profiles, manager ID will be manager account name as shown in user profiles. So make sure you just copy the email part of the account name. In SharePoint Online, account name looks like this, as you can see on the screen. User at tenant name .onmicrosoft.com. Again, we can customize all the vacancies and vacancy boxes as preferred, as we've seen earlier in the video. Adding vacancies to org chart when your data source is Excel or CSV is straightforward. In org chart configuration, select data source to be Excel or CSV. Before that, ensure that your spreadsheet has all the necessary columns. As you can see on the screen, you can use this example, add or remove some columns as needed. I will use the work email column for employee ID to build the org chart structure. The same I used for SharePoint list as a data source to build a structure. And after I create a vacancy list server in SharePoint, I will use the work email again from a manager to assign a vacant position to them. Please note the vacancy list server is always in SharePoint no matter which data source you use for your employee list. And just in case you forgot how to create a vacancy list server, I will go over it again. Go back to the site where you want to create a vacancy list and copy the relative URL. Select /, then site and your site name. Then paste this relative server URL into the field and add /list / preferred list name. I will call mine vacancies. In this case, org chart will create a list with all necessary columns. And this is how org chart creates a vacancy list server in SharePoint. Now you can populate the list with vacancies, and don't forget to use the correct ID for mapping purposes. As I used work email to build this structure, I will use work email in here as well in manager email column. And as I promised at the beginning of the video, I will show you how vacancies are displayed in different layouts. As you can see on the screen, well organized and visible. And that concludes today's video. Make sure to explore our org chart playlist to learn more. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Until next time.